Welcome to yet another episode of the OoruLabs podcast where we talk about the future of urban sustainability. We check out hot topics, trending news in the areas of urban transport, waste, energy, water, the new digital economy, and its implications for urban living. I'm Sathya Knerav, and with me is Nirav Kodolikar. We are going to jump straight into the raging debate about bicycle helmets because most people believe that bicycle helmets need to be made mandatory, and I've been hearing this quite a bit. And there's a lot of people take offense at being told that why should we wear a bicycle helmet, right? Uh, this debate has been raging for quite a while. This week the British cycling policy advisor Chris Broadman, he says it's time for the cycling community to put the debate about mandatory cycle helmets to bed and get across the message that helmet use is one of the least important cycling safety measures. I don't know how people took it, but even talking about making helmets mandatorily massively puts people off cycling, he said, and likened the culture of helmet use among keen cyclists to people wearing body armor because they've got used to being shot at. And that's a good
Yeah.
analogy, I think. And he also goes on to say that I think the helmet issue is a massive red herring. Incidentally, this article was last week when I shared it in the groups, and it caused quite a buzz. And there was a bunch of conversations around WhatsApp. But there was another article earlier this month which I had also shared. It was a comprehensive article in Slate by Marion Renault. Is that how you pronounce Renault? It's a French name, I guess.
I think so, probably.
Yeah. Last year, this quote. Last year, health officials in Seattle decided to stop requiring bicyclists to wear helmets. So the Seattle government
Awesome.
said that. Independent research found that nearly half of Seattle's helmet tickets in recent years, well, at least we don't get a ticket for bicycle helmets here, but they do over there.
I know, right?
It
Yeah.
went to unhoused people, while black and Native American cyclists in the city were 4 times and 2 times more likely, respectively, than white cyclists to be cited. So this is we are talking about discrimination, equality, and who ends up getting the short end of the stick with these kind of. So we need to remember to see uh, that as well. Other jurisdictions have done away with the helmet mandates too, said the Slate article. In 2020, Tacoma, Washington repealed its requirement. In 2014, Dallas did the same for adults. Unquote. Now, this goes without saying that Netherlands nobody wears a helmet. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But let's unpack this. Does a helmet keep a person safe, Nira? What do you think?
Okay. Firstly, before making any broad generalized statement, I think we need to approach this in like two frames of thought. One is helmet use for the daily commute on a cycle, of course. And the second is helmet use when if you're a recreational cyclist who might be racing or yeah, anything that involves a higher degree of risk than just your normal commute. So me personally, what I feel is for my races, of course, I do wear a helmet, not because it's mandated, and it is. You cannot enter any race, especially if it's at the state or national level, without a helmet.
Oh,
It is mandatory.
okay.
And yeah, because the speeds are higher at
Yeah.
any, let's just say at the nationals, you will end up averaging around 41 to 43 kilometers per hour.
Hmm.
And there has been research done in the case of a helmet as a protective safety device for an individual. It does protect from severe head injuries in case of a fall. So that is the racing side, and that is sort of like the high risk side of things
Mm,
in terms of an amateur competitive cyclist.
mm,
So let's just talk about cycling for the commute, for
mm,
your commute.
mm,
Or let's just say, not even your commute, you might be headed to the grocery store just to get some basic provisions.
mm.
You have your cycle, let's just say, in our case, it's a nice foldable Brompton that I know that you use personally. Yeah. So I think you'll be cycling at the speed of, let's just say, 10 to 15 kilometers,
Not
not
more than
more
that
than that,
tops. I don't
given
think it'll be more
traffic
than that.
in Bangalore,
Yeah.
I guess. So tops 10 to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
15
And I
kilometers,
think the traffic is
leisurely
also at
pace.
the same speed, by the way.
Traffic. I know. But I think the grid average for Bangalore is about 8 kilometers per hour. So if you're averaging around 10 to 15, you're doing better than the traffic, I would say. So yeah. So you're on your way to the grocery shop for your provisions. Let's just say you do have a fall, a small, a minor slip. At the speed of 10 to 12 kilometers per hour, a helmet is not going to be that crucial to your safety. I'm not saying that it won't help, but the degree to which it will help is just drastically reduced. Secondly, we need to look at who brings up this conversation, and what do I mean by that?
Right, good
So
point.
often in this debate,
Uh,
yeah, often in this debate, you hear cyclists need to wear a helmet.
right,
Always.
right,
Whenever I see a cyclist, they better be wearing a helmet. Now, there is some nuance as to who brings this up. If you are if you are not a cyclist, and let's just say if you're used to driving a vehicle, driving a car, and you are asking a cyclist to wear a helmet, well, you're not wrong, but you're not right either. And I'll tell you why.
mm,
So the nuance between that behind that statement is, if you are asking me to wear a helmet, which I will, if you are asking me to have flashy lights at the rear, if you are asking me to wear a reflective vest, if you are asking me to be safe on the road by dressing up as a Christmas tree, quite frankly, and wearing a helmet and and wearing body armor for my safety, you better ensure that while piloting heavy machinery, which is a motor vehicle, that you also drive safely, you keep my safety in mind, and my safety is not only my sole responsibility. Why? Because we're sharing the road at the end of the day. So if you're telling me, all cyclists should wear helmet because, oh, it's not safe, you also have to ensure my safety on road. So it's very, yeah, it's very simple to just gloss over the fact that, oh, that cyclist wasn't wearing a helmet, so yeah, it's his fault that he fell and then he got run over and he wasn't wearing a helmet. Why wasn't he wearing a helmet? It could have saved his life, but you have glossed over the fact that the cyclist was in this case run over or severely damaged by an external force. That yes, a helmet would have helped in that case, but don't forget what caused that accident in the first place. So that's the slight sort of like hidden nuance behind that statement. So I would just, especially viewers listening in, I would be very careful in sort of like, yeah, just dissect that sentence and just be careful who it's coming from. If it's a cyclist, yeah, they definitely care about your safety, and they might be the stance is about personal safety. But if you're hearing it from anybody else, just be a little careful on what they actually mean. So that's my take on like helmets for racing and helmets for the commute.
okay,
It's yeah,
right. I think you've addressed the. So, so there are many things here. There are many things to unpack. So let's say first thing is, who is telling you should wear a helmet and who is saying you need not wear a helmet, right? This person should be defined, right? In a race, obviously you guys are racing and you're going really fast, and like you said, even if you did fall down by yourself at those speeds, you're bound to get hurt. And also, nobody in their right mind would say, if I was going into a battlefield, I shouldn't, the body armor is not going to protect you, right? But the point of this is, why are we in a battlefield? Is the city a battlefield? Should it be a battlefield for the cyclist, right? That brings,
exactly,
doesn't that
exactly.
bring out broader questions
Yeah,
of, yes, we are
yeah,
all focusing on the body armor, like you
yeah,
very correctly mentioned, we are all dressed up and decked up like a Christmas tree, telling everybody, hey, I'm here, I am here, I am here. And yet you have to take all the safety measures for yourself. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you did, what is the signaling you are sending? And what is the broader goal of cycling in itself? And I think you said it very well. I think you said some of the race organizers are making it mandatory because of the
yeah,
risks involved in the high speeds at which you are going. But should cities, so when you say a cyclist, you very rightly define who is a cyclist. Are we all going on road bikes at 40 kilometers per hour in the city? Yeah, right.
Not at
So
all.
not at
Not
all,
at
not
all.
at all.
That's yeah.
So what is it that we should be encouraging people to do? Right? Do a slow, relaxed ride, and even if you did fall, you're not going to get as hurt as you are. But here's the other thing that goes without saying, right? It's not about the fear of falling down. It's about the fear of getting hit.
Yes.
Uh,
In cities especially, yeah, that is because why most people, I mean, even if you didn't know that a helmet was mandatory for a race, you would automatically wear a helmet because
right.
you are entering, as you said, a battlefield in this case. But is
Exactly.
your city, I mean, ideally, should your city be a battlefield? Should you have to fight for your right on the road and literally be scared for your life? Not because you think you will fall down, but there'll be some harm that comes upon you because of some external factor. That's not your bike handling skills,
Right.
let's just say.
But the conversation I've had last week with a bunch of my friends on WhatsApp around
Hmm.
this also revolved around saying, why shouldn't I keep myself safe knowing that I am already in a battlefield? Right? I am afraid of the vehicles around me that they are going to hit me and I'm going to die. So let's take the
That's
speed
me, to
out of
be
the
honest.
equation. So
Yeah,
let's say we advise everybody to not ride fast and not take a road bike and try to be a hero on the roads in the city, right? That's let's say that is done, and people say I am going slowly, but now I'm afraid about the motor vehicles who are going to come and hit me. So by myself falling and getting hurt, I have all the right to protect myself using the helmet. But if I was going slowly, what if somebody comes and hits me? And here I had one statistics that was in this late article which said a roundup of 55 studies between 1989 and 2017 found excuse me found that helmet use reduced serious head injuries by 60%, mild head injury and traumatic brain injury by 50%, and the total number of seriously injured or killed cyclists by 34%. It's not like it's 100% protection. And the article does go around to say that these helmets
of
are
course.
not really uh, that effective. They may be effective, and there are anecdotal evidences of people falling down and hitting their head and saying, oh, the helmet did protect me. And it did happen, and serious injury by 34%, half of it 50% are not great statistics to stand by, but let's say we do accept that that happens. But it's the author who wrote it, Alexa Hoy, a traffic safety researchers at the Institute of Transport Economics in Norway, had some major caveats, right? Bicycle helmets have only limited potential to protect from serious head injury in a high energy impact or when a cyclist is overrun by a motor vehicle. Right now we talk about other people,
Yeah,
motor vehicles coming and hitting you. She's very clearly saying that when a motor vehicle hits you, it's not even about your head. These motor vehicles that we ride today are SUVs, and the
yeah,
front fender comes up 4.5 feet
yeah.
high.
To your yeah,
It's like if
yeah, yeah.
there's a 4 feet kid and there's a four
It's
and a
at your
half feet.
shoulder level
I know
essentially.
it's almost
Yeah,
at the shoulder level, and when you're going, they can't even see you.
yeah.
So we have been armoring the
Correct.
vehicles bigger and bigger and bigger, and somehow we are being said that wear a helmet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
That's
think.
the issue because uh, I mean, at the end of the day, it's sort of like a simple blame game wherein you're putting the onus of your protection on just the cyclist
Hmm.
without realizing that it's a shared road,
Hmm.
without realizing that you are there in your nice metal cocoon as a motor vehicle driver.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, what a lot of people don't realize is that they are operating heavy machinery every time they drive a vehicle, no matter how small it is. It is at on average around a ton of metal
Easily.
hurling down the road
Easily.
towards yeah towards other cans of metal hurling down the other way. Now put a pedestrian into this mix. Now put a cyclist into this mix. And another thing that I'd just like to touch upon is, and I've heard this before, is the argument that you need to wear helmets because I wear a seatbelt. That's also something that I've heard
Ah.
from people who drive. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm being precautious by wearing my seatbelt. I'm doing my duty. So you better wear a helmet because you're on the road. That's your equivalent to wearing a seatbelt. But okay, I guess on the, if you just take that argument for its surface level sort of like basics, okay, makes sense, right? You need to wear a seatbelt. Okay, I need to wear a helmet on the premise that we're all using a road. But take into consideration the difference in the equipment that we're using.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're wearing the seatbelt because so that you don't have any serious repercussions from hitting. I mean, from having a metal on metal contact or bone on metal contact in case of an accident. That's a personal safety device within the equipment that you are sort of piloting or driving. So the mechanics of wearing a seatbelt and putting on a helmet are very different.
I think so.
So
And
even though,
I,
yeah,
d- I,
yeah,
I totally agree with you. Here's the other false equivalence there.
yeah, hmm,
One is that it is passenger safety and not road safety. Okay. So it's like I wear a helmet, I'm taking a knife into a gunfight. I'm not even standing a chance. Right? And you run over me, whatever helmet I wear, I have to be truly, I should be wearing a full body armor, 1 ton metal around me, which basically is again a car. It's not a bicycle anymore. So I don't think that even helps in the conversation of saying, I protected myself, you protect yourself. And we all go at it in the battlefield, right? I protected myself. I'm going to. So this is this is a nice segue to introduce to the Peltzmann effect. I don't know if you've heard of it, Nirav, but um, for the listeners, I think I should say this was a study that was done where I think it was during for the insurance purposes. People have found that when they were insured, they took made riskier behavior, right? So when you wear a seat belt and you have a 1 ton metal, you are bound to think that you're invincible and make take more risks. So not that and I have felt it myself, right? I wear a helmet when I go out into the countryside. When I do my 100-kilometer ride on the highways, I do wear a helmet because I take my road bike out and it is the one behind me that is a little, definitely I ride a little faster. I'm not as fast as you though, but I do ride maybe 20, 25, maybe 30 on downhills. So I take the momentum for my helmet. But
no, I'm getting back into shape, so I guess we can ride together
I
now.
think
But yeah, I
yeah,
get what you're saying.
push me to 35 now, and then we can go with the serious guys and hit it. But anyway, see, that's
Hmm.
that's totally a different scenario. In the city
Yeah,
again, right? I am definitely not equipped to fight on equal terms with the motor vehicles. And when the motor vehicle does crash, the helmet is a knife in a gunfight. And the first point is, let's go back to saying the Peltzman effect does that risk assess, but makes you feel a little less vulnerable and you take more risk, and it's a true effect, and that has happened to many people, right? Once you without the helmet, you feel, oh my god, you got so used to it that without the helmet you feel vulnerable. You feel the wind in your hair and you're like, oh shit, there's wind in my hair and there's something missing on my head. That has happened for people who are habituated as well, right? Until I started riding without a helmet slowly with my small foldy around the town or my single speed around town. Mm. So the Peltzman effect is something we need to understand, is that there is an element of risk that you take more because you wore a seatbelt or you wore a helmet, or uh, you protected yourself, and that's a selfish need for yourself. You self preservation is definitely one of the big things that you have to do, and
hmm,
you will do that, but that doesn't achieve the larger goal, I feel. And this also, there have been conversations around individual liberties as well, right? If I need to wear a helmet, I have to wear a helmet, absolutely. Your life is at your stake, and if you feel even in a slow speed you don't want to take the risk, I think you should wear a helmet. But trying to
of course.
impose this, go back to that Seattle thing, why did they cancel that? It was saying that the lower income people, right? You as a cyclist racing on the road and suddenly deciding to commute using the same parameters is not the same as the livelihood cyclist who can't even afford a bicycle. Most of them are being gifted one, right? To him or her,
Yeah,
the self-preservation need on that is slightly down on the hierarchy. Bread and butter takes precedence, and every rupee that he spends, like
yeah.
what's a bicycle helmet? Maybe 800 rupees now. Um,
Oh no, that's pre-pandemic rates right there.
oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
maybe
the
1,000.
helmet prices
Okay,
have shot up. Yeah,
one.
yeah, 1,500, 2,000,
Yeah,
I
so
would
I
say.
saw a
Yeah,
bike for 5,000 or
it's
4,000.
quite expensive
Yeah, that's about a quarter of the
at a
cost of
minimum. Yeah.
the minimum, right? So a quarter of the cost of the bicycle
Mm.
is the helmet, right? And that's a huge expense for
Hmm.
anyone. 25%, 20 to 25% of your bike, and you wear cheaper and cheaper helmets. There's no point in wearing the helmet anymore. right? That helmet is just thermocol, and the false sense of
Mm-hmm.
safety it gives is different. And the other thing that Chris Broadman did, I was just sharing that article on this thing, right? He also says that when the gunfight has stopped and people are still wearing helmets, other people think, you know what, this guy is still wearing body armor, so it must be an unsafe place, and I'm not going to ride. It puts a lot of people off, right? And where does your individual liberty stop, right? What is the role of the government and authorities to do this, right? Most people seem to say that
Yeah.
while I can advise you to wear a helmet, when you do that, you need to start thinking about how forcefully you do that. And instead, maybe we should all start looking at how do we make the streets safer for people by making the motor vehicle user responsible for the safety of others on the road. And this is the other argument I had. I don't know how you think about it. If you think the cyclist should wear a helmet even if he's going slowly in the streets, Karnataka had 13% road accident deaths out of the total national uh, tally, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, and it was the top killer, and all of these were
Yeah.
pedestrians. Why aren't you asking the pedestrian to wear body armor? Why only a helmet? Why aren't
Mm.
we wearing knee pads and bulletproof vests or whatever, right? I don't want. What
Mm-hmm.
if my hand run?
Yeah.
What if a vehicle runs over my hand and I'm completely decapacitated? Right,
Mm-hmm.
being
No, I
dead
get
at
what you're
least,
saying. Yeah.
the difference between being dead and being decapacitated is like not too much of a difference, right? You could, there are people I know,
Mm-hmm.
people, I don't want to take the name, but in HSR, my close friend who I used to work with has been literally been put off
Mm.
his entire livelihood because it wasn't about the head at all. It was about everything,
Got it.
including that. And I know people who have just fallen off and broken their face and had to had plastic surgery and stitches and all of those things, and that had nothing to do with the helmet, right? You might say that okay, my head is protected but everything else is shot, right? The role of the government here, I think, in general, is to say your individual liberties stop when you start causing harms to others, right? So if you're in a motor vehicle and you're causing harm to others, the government is bound to step in and say no, this is not how you do it. You can't keep arming the vulnerable. My quick question is, why aren't pedestrians being asked to wear, why only a helmet? Pedestrians should be wearing complete body armor, right? I don't see
Got,
why
yeah.
not.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, to the user, that's the tech side of me. To the listener, listening, listening to the podcast, what are Satya and Neerav saying? Are Satya and Neerav saying, no, you shouldn't wear a helmet from tomorrow? That's not what we're saying. What I guess, uh, what we're trying to say is, in the argument of making streets safer,
Hmm.
yeah, and that's a clear highlight. Highlight those two words right there. Street safer. That's what we need to do. We have to make our streets safer. Is the helmet is only a cyclist wearing a helmet going to make your streets safer?
No.
No, I don't think so. And I guess everybody will agree with me that yeah, that's not how we're going to achieve safe streets. So if you're only looking at the helmet and mandating the helmet as a device to make your streets
It's
safer,
not.
that's not
Yeah,
going to
it's
happen.
not.
It's a wider campaign involving so many different road users, be it pedestrians, cyclists, and primarily, I guess we need to shift the onus on acknowledging um, uh, safe usage for motor vehicles and heavy. I'm just calling it heavy machinery at this point because that's what it is.
I think that's
It's
what it
it's
is.
it's that simple.
I would call it weapons and the
But
guns on the gunfight.
yeah,
I would just
yeah,
I just call it weapons on the road.
I don't.
I
Yeah,
drive one
yeah,
as well. I mean, you drive one, I
yeah,
drive one, we
yeah.
all drive one. But the
Correct,
empathy that we
correct,
have
correct. But
is,
we
yeah.
acknowledge, yeah, acknowledge your responsibility towards others.
Mm,
Acknowledge that it's a shared space, not a space just for your motor vehicle.
exactly.
That is how you make streets safer. That is how you make streets safer. Are people? I mean, do we not have motorists in Amsterdam? We, of course, we do. But what happens in Amsterdam essentially is it's a shared acknowledgement. I mean, it is a widespread acknowledgement of a shared space. It's not my road. It's I don't have priority because I am in a motor vehicle. For some reason, that does exist this hierarchy on. I was going to say Indian roads, but on many. I mean, even in Amsterdam or even in a lot of eurozone countries, everybody that will always be a tussle of this hierarchy. That I'm in a bigger vehicle, you give me priority. But what happens in a lot of safe streets is, and this is something that I've noticed, is the hierarchy, the pyramid is reversed.
Mm,
priority is given to the more vulnerable road user,
Mm,
where you see cyclists also waiting for pedestrians, motorists waiting for cyclists, and yeah, the hierarchy is reversed. Over here, we give way for the bigger vehicles
I know.
because
Well
again,
said.
we fear our safety. Because yeah, if you
So this
don't
brings
give
up,
way, hey,
right.
something can happen.
So this brings up two questions, two interesting questions. Why should I,
Mm-hmm.
as a user, let's say I'm deathly afraid, right? And I don't want to go out without a helmet. Why should I, as a user, not wear a helmet, put myself in harm's way? Now, we have already established that it's not going to help you if your motor vehicle runs over you. It is not going to help you. It is not required if you're going slow and the motor vehicles are also going slow. This is the other thing I did mention last week when I was speaking with Dirk as well, and I think it's good to reiterate that there's a difference between uh, we'll come to that, is that speed is the problem everywhere, right? When you're going faster on a
Mm-hmm.
bicycle, you're more liable to fall and get hurt. When the vehicle is going faster and crashes with you, you're more liable to fall and get hurt. So speed
Mm-hmm.
is the problem we need to tackle, the speed of vehicles and of yourself. What are we in a deathly hurry for? Yes, we all have to go to work,
Mm-hmm.
we all have to do this. If we shared it and made the roads more efficient, we might possibly not to deal with this. So the question of saying why should I, I'll come to the speed, but why should I sacrifice
Sure.
my life now for the greater good? I don't want to do it. I think,
Mm.
I don't know, I think they don't need to. If you don't
My
feel
take
like,
on this is,
yeah,
yeah.
go
No,
ahead.
sorry, you were saying?
No, go ahead. I was just asking
Yeah, no,
you.
my
I
take
was
on
just
this is
asking you.
it's
Is
yeah.
this, why should I
Mhm.
ask someone to be bold and take their helmets off and ride in a slow speed in a slow street in an area which is not
So
fast?
I guess what I'm about to say will like gloss over a lot of again detail within the statement, but it's a protest.
Yeah.
That's as simple as it is. It's a protest. What do you do when you want to protest against something? You do incur significant risk to your own self. Let's just say you're protesting against something, you'll block the road, you'll have your cardboard placard, you'll be standing on the roads or whatever. This is a form of protest at significant risk to your personal self, especially on our roads. Yes, we can say that helmet's not going to have any impact on, like, let's just say if someone hits you, or you have a fall, but there is that feel good factor of wearing a helmet, and to some extent, in some cases, it will genuinely help and might probably also save your life. But to those who choose not to wear a helmet, it's a simple protest. That's all that it is, because they recognize that their safety on the road is not solely their own responsibility. It's a shared space. Everybody has to come together and ensure everyone's safety. And this is just a form of protest saying that, hey, a helmet is not going to help. You mandating my helmet is not going to help. Recognize what is actually going to help and act on it. That's all that it is.
Beautifully well said. I think that, and also I'd just like to add that not everybody walks to a protest and comes and participates, right? There are,
Yeah, it's
there is
correct.
this, there is a crazy minority of people who take it upon themselves to make the city safe for others, and they will participate. If you really are deathly afraid and not want to be a part of the protest, and you really want to, oh, just protect yourself because your risk appetite is lower, yes, I don't think you should participate or you should worry about why this guy is not wearing a helmet and go around pointing fingers and this guy is not wearing a helmet, this is not happening, that's
Mhm.
not. I think we are all used, I
Yes.
think most of this is what happens when I go around in circles where we have all these fancy road bikes, and we ride around very fast and race and all those things. Most
Hmm.
of that community, not most, I shouldn't generalize, a lot of the people there are used to a different type of cycling, and
Yeah.
the fact that they need to participate in the greater good might not be everybody's cup of tea. So I think it is just crazy people like you and me, we will probably do something like this. But that brings me to an go ahead.
Yeah, I fall into the scared of being on the roads without a helmet category myself.
Absolutely.
Even though I'm talking about a protest, I mean, I would never think about going on our roads without a helmet personally,
Right. So this is exactly what
because
it is.
yeah,
So we
correct,
have both
correct. This is
categories of
exactly
users, and
it's
we
the
are,
struggle. Yeah,
the fact that you are able to recognize that a certain set of people want to make a statement and make these things happen, and that some of us are willing to participate and some of us are not
exactly.
able to participate for what
Yeah.
we are, and I think we should accept it for what it is, and
Yes.
and go.
Yes.
The interesting point I would like to make on the on how this whole thing can be solved really, right? Whether it is me going out without a helmet or you going with a helmet, we are both recognizing that the gunfight is with the motor vehicles who are the actual problem creators, and
Yes.
speed is the demon that we really really need to
Yeah.
tackle.
It's the differential. Yeah.
The speed is the biggest thing that we need to tackle, and of course
Uh-huh.
awareness and empathy and all that. There was this whole article in this one of these articles was that NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, suggested reducing traffic speeds, pointing to a data that show that bicyclist crashes at locations with speed limits of less than or at least 50 miles per hour were more than 5 times as likely to result in a fatal or serious injuries than were crashes in the speed limit zones of 25 miles per hour or less. So if we have a slow zone, right, if we have a
Yeah.
slow zone or segregation, and
Yeah.
slow the motor vehicle down, especially in our congested streets, we are actually safer. Yeah, I mean, when we are going, we feel
Mm-hmm.
there is less, there's a lot of honking, there's a lot of irritation in our congested traffic,
Yeah.
but the congested traffic is actually safer. If only we got a little bit of a path,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the morning ride on the highway when you think it is all free for you. That's when the motor vehicle driver also thinks it's free for him, and even a slight this thing can cause a
Yeah.
lot of problems. So congestion is our friend, and it also helps more people get off. But here's the thing about uh, uh, slowing down traffic, and I think this is something all of us can get with, right? We need to slow traffic downs in a lot of our streets, and I do feel that a lot of our streets are naturally smaller than the big western roads that we have seen. And a lot of our local streets in front of our house
Of
are
course.
definitely slower. We can do a lot more to make that mandatory. So the Directorate of Urban Land Transport had come
Mm-hmm.
out with something called slow streets, right? This already exists in countries like the Netherlands and most of Europe, where they try to slow the
Mm-hmm.
traffic down with design speeds and everything. They came up with this thing called slow streets, and they made an active mobility bill. I want to take this occasion to it was not passed in any of the assemblies because cycling is still considered for the rich elitist people, and they can just go out
Wow.
and have
Yeah.
fun, and they don't need to cycle in the city, and the city is only for motor vehicles or whatever, right? The active mobility bill is still out there. It's not been passed. It protects the rights of pedestrians and cyclists and asks all infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
to include cycling and walking facilities and all that. And it says that we need to identify a set of streets which can where traffic can be formally slowed down really really much, and I think we can stand by and support that. And I would just, I don't know, in conclusion, I would just call upon more people to shun this, that making helmets mandatory is going to solve the problem. It may solve your selfish need
Mm-hmm.
of not dying, which is your right to not die, but it is not something that we can impose on the people who, one, can't afford to, or two,
Yeah.
doesn't need to be, because the problem is not the body armor. In which case, again, I say, why aren't pedestrians being mandated with body armor? And why only a helmet, right? Why not wear more armor? Why not the helmet
Yeah.
be
Oh
made
my
of
gosh.
iron
Yeah.
or steel or reinforced carbon I don't know what it is, made of
Mm-hmm.
duralumin, of plain material or whatever? Why
Yeah.
think that the thermocol is sufficient? Why not campaign for
I
saying
really
that I
don't think you
need
should give
metal
them
helmets? I
ideas.
don't know, right? We
I know.
they might do it. No, I think people are reasonable. I don't think that's where it is. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
We did. Um, I do have a soapbox tomorrow in the Bangalore hub, or today. I'm going to edit this and put
Got
it
it.
out tomorrow, I guess, on Sunday. I do have a soapbox where I want to talk about policy, because suddenly people are thinking uh, uh, the uh, the uh, the whole idea of bicycle lanes in the city is something that we shouldn't is an important concept for rich people. That is something I want to tackle next. And the CFAM newsletter, plug for CFAM newsletter now. Uh, Number 19 is out this week. Go to cfam.substack.com. And if you like these conversations and would like to chime in. Do this is on YouTube and Spotify at Uru Labs. Do subscribe, watch, share, write your opinions down there, how you feel, what you feel, and thank you very
Awesome.
much. I'll see you
Nice
next
catching up with
week.
you. Bye.
Bye.